A Way Out.
Holy shit, what an ending.
That was one of the most satisfying games I have ever played in my life.
A lot of times, narrative games, I feel like, really set themselves up for failure because they rely entirely on the narrative to define themselves. And quite simply, they can't live up to the hype.
I mean, case in point, like every single shooter ever. This one, however, actually took the time out to set the characters up, and this is something that I've said multiple times before. The characters and the universe are really what's important.
I like the intro where you just get their criminal record basically while they're on the plane. That's
Yeah, I
how
mean,
you choose your character.
I mean, the very intro is like you're just given the straight facts about who they are and what they've done, and that gives you a basic outline for what they're like. But then they actually have to start interacting with each other, and is the occasional back and forth. You know, you get the occasional joke, you get the action scene, things like that, and the characters are built well over time, bouncing off of each other, reinforcing their own characters, and you just get so invested in who they are.
I think they also aren't too perfectly defined by their introductions because it introduces Leo as he's the loose, hard-fighting, tough guy, whereas Vincent, sorry, I forgot the name. Vincent was the logical, calmer one, but throughout the game, you have instances where they essentially switch position on it. I feel like that they were well fleshed out characters that had a lot of character to them.
Yeah, it's. I mean, like you said, there were occasions where Leo was the more logical one and Vincent was the more rash one, but that was because, let's be perfectly honest, humans do that. As characters, they're not set in one particular angle or mode or set of options. They actually do have a wide breadth of experience where they do make multiple and sometimes seemingly contradictory choices.
If I can compare it to another narrative based shooter, and I believe we referenced it earlier throughout the game too, but Kane and Lynch.
Yeah.
Now that was a game I recall had a lot of hype around its story. One of it was because I can't remember which. I think it was Lionsgate. Lionsgate or another studio bought the rights to the story for a potential movie adaptation. Now, obviously, so many years later, that's never happened. But that's the kind of thing that the news you read about how amazing the story must be. And while it wasn't a bad game, it's just that was it.
It
was
petered out
it was
very
an
quickly.
okay game.
I mean, first one, it kind of petered out as like, I like to compare endings like that to like how a plane lands. You've got a game like A Way Out, which lands very suddenly but very, otherwise very well, very safely. Kane and Lynch was like a straight nosedive. The third act started into a straight nosedive, and it just barely pulled itself off from like totally crashing. But you still lost the tail section when it like slammed the wrong way in the runway.
A Way Out felt like a game that was written before they started the entire game, and it was written in a way and developed in a way that they got to completely develop the story. That was another big thing. Nothing really felt rushed. That was one of the problems with a game like Kane and Lynch was it felt like it's one of those movies where they've spent 6 months filming the first 75% of the movie, and now they have 2 weeks to film the last quarter.
Yes, I think it was the second game where the final boss is like two security dogs.
Something like that. It was insanely bad.
It's absolutely inept.
And I mean, I don't want to spend the whole review shitting on Kane and Lynch.
Although we could.
If I'm going to shit on a co-op game, that's going to be What Happened to Army of Two.
Oh my god.
That's why I blame games like that, why it's so hard to find co-op games nowadays. That's why we've actually branched out a little bit on the channel now.
I mean, part of it is because we don't have a choice. Because couch co-op games are so hard to find because of games like Kane and Lynch, like Army of Two, which set themselves up with such promise. I mean, Kane and Lynch, I'll grant, the company that made the trailers, those are some solid trailers. Both games, I still enjoy watching to this day. Gameplay, not so much. Army of Two, great potential.
The first game was really fun.
The first game, the story was a little cliche.
But we didn't go into that game for the story. That's
right.
One of those things.
It was the co-op experience, and the co-op experience was fun. It was very unique. You play these two mercenary badasses who fight side by side, and then a traitor plotline shows up.
And in the second game, you play these two badasses who fight side by side, and
then a traitor plotline shows up.
But in the third game, you play these two badasses who fight side by side, and then a former ally who is now working for the bad guy shows up.
Pretty sure they call that a traitor.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what that was. And also who that... God, it was so bad. It was so bad.
Oh my god.
Do not if you're gonna... don't play Army of Two. No,
don't play Army of Two.
Don't. Save your money. It will never even be free because nobody will... The whole Xbox games for gold, whatever crap, will never... I'm done.
We're getting way off topic here.
Yeah, we are.
So, gameplay for A Way Out. It took a while, but just the ability to go around and explore and interact with the world the way that you were, I thought was very refreshing in how well you had to connect with your partner.
It was really fun to just kind of the split screen experience, honestly. One of those things, it doesn't really matter for most co-op games what your partner is doing. You never have to bother looking at their screen because it doesn't matter. But in this game, it's a game that almost encourages screen watching.
And yet, at the same time, the game was designed well enough that sometimes you didn't really have a choice, or you were so involved with what was going on in your screen that you didn't really think to look at the other person's screen. Early example of that was when we were in the cells. We were like chiseling out the wall behind the toilets.
Oh God!
And I'm glad that we actually managed to upload that particular bit of footage. There's the point where I'm just chiseling out the back, and one of the guards comes up behind me. Chase was so focused on my screen. I was watching my screen because I had the button prompts.
I was looking at the wrong side of
he was looking at my screen, and a guard just like shows up right behind me. And I'm like, oh my god, how did he not see me?
And then almost immediately after, I fucking try to get the chisel with the guard standing right in front of me.
Yeah. It's one of those things. It's... You'd think that screen watching would be kind of an overwhelming thing to make things a lot easier on yourself. It's surprisingly easy to forget about screen watching. You just get so absorbed with what's going on in your half of the world. Especially during some of the action scenes. The theater fight, for example.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was fantastic. We each had to go and do our own thing in order to save ourselves.
There were a couple of occasions, like the construction yard chase.
Oh, I loved that.
That was really good because sometimes it was you had to concentrate on your own chase sequence, but then there were parts where it's like, oh hey, they're running after each other on the middle of a moving crane. That's pretty freaking awesome.
Yes, I mean you just see the other character chasing what's his face, the foreman.
Sorry, not Harvey. That's the main bad guy.
Yeah,
can't even remember the foreman.
The foreman man, whatever his name was.
Fat boy, the most athletic fat guy on the planet.
It's one of those really cinematic experiences where you kind of want to sit back and watch it, but if you do that, he'll get away and you'll lose and you'll have to restart it. It's gameplay like that really forces the co-op experience, really forces you to concentrate on your half of the job. And we really don't get that kind of experience anymore in games. I mean, look at the latest Call of Duty. Whatever the latest Call of Duty with a co-op campaign mission.
I don't think they've had one.
Just insert one. Pretend there's one.
Look at Halo 5. Halo was all about coach co-op growing up with us together. And they just got rid of it. Man,
it was one of the worst decisions they could have made, I think.
We didn't. They lost. I mean, I'm sure they still made a shitload of money, but they still lost a sale for us.
Well, Halo is actually a fine example in this. You've got two characters going around playing the campaign. One is not. I mean, the two characters are not necessary in that situation.
Narrative?
No, speaking of gameplay.
Okay.
Towards gameplay, Halo 4, for example. Co-op, you can have one character just sit there and not do anything while the other one goes off and kills all the Covenants.
For sure.
You cannot do that in a way out. If the other person's slacking, you will lose or you won't catch up in time or anything.
No. I was not slacking during that prison fight. I was doing pull-ups. And by the way, despite doing 13 of them, I could have had more.
You were slacking.
Oh,
you were absolutely slacking.
Oh, Mr. fucking 9 fucking goddamn
bench presses.
Yeah, whatever those are called.
Those are harder to do. There was more weight.
What do you mean there's more weight?
There was more weight.
We didn't actually see how much weight was on those.
I'll fight you on this.
I am 175 pounds right now, so I mean, I'm just saying, okay, we're doing this. We're arm wrestling. We're arm wrestling.
We are so bad at staying on topic.
Yeah, we are. This is gonna be okay. Let's
talk
about
a reminder to never start a podcast.
Let's talk about the ending.
Oh my god. Oh,
that was very. I mean, I almost feel kind of, embarrassed to say that I did not see that coming at all.
It's one of those things. Okay, when I, speaking for myself, when I get into a new book or a movie or something like that or a game, and I'm really getting invested in it, I do whatever I can to turn my brain off and stop accepting clues to whatever the ending is going to be. If it's, cliche or predictable or something, it's like, oh yeah, the butler's the killer. Something to that effect. I'll turn my brain off for that and just be cynical. If I'm actually having fun, I want the ending to surprise me as much as possible. So I turned my brain off for this one. The ending completely threw me for a loop.
Me too.
It's just, and it was set up so damn well. Vincent being an FBI agent undercover. He told us enough about his backstory. It made perfect sense. We never saw any evidence of it, but we trusted him. The character, by the time all of this had been brought up, we trusted his character enough that we didn't need an explanation. We worked with him. We were going to commit all these crimes with him to get Harvey.
To a degree, we even did have evidence in the hospital scene when he was there with his wife. She was saying, how long until you're done with this thing? And we realized this was not about the revenge plot to Harvey. This was his general quest as an agent that she was talking about. His obsession with his job that was tearing their marriage apart.
And there was another scene, actually, that did very much the same thing, where he called his wife, and she clearly disapproved of it, and he said, it's Harvey. He killed my brother. And it's like, this is genuine. At that point, this is a genuine revenge plot for Vincent because his brother was murdered. It turns out, yes, Harvey really did murder his brother. It's just not the way we expected it to. So that misdirection was brilliantly applied. Hats off to the writers there.
For the record, I think we got the better ending.
Okay, behind the scenes thing.
Now, it's only fair we have only seen the one.
We've only seen the one. We do plan on going back to see if there's any other choices we can make.
I mean, I guarantee you there's no neutral. It's
I
one of them has to die. I
I
know it
I
already.
suspect you're right,
No
but
way.
there's that naive portion of me that hopes you're wrong.
There's, I mean, I'm just saying. Part of me was like, the ending of GTA 5 should have forced you to have one of the characters die or something like that. Originally, that was actually one of the plots. They were going to have it possible so that the third option was going to have Franklin die and he would be replaced by Lamar.
Huh.
I'm really glad they didn't do that because I found Lamar to be an insanely annoying character.
That would have been interesting. I hadn't heard that. But no,
Fun fact of the day.
behind the scenes thing for you. So when filming, we actually turned off the recording equipment because we had to sit down and discuss how we were going to end the game for 10 minutes. We just went back and forth saying, okay, here's why Vincent should live. No, here's why Leo should live. Back and forth, until eventually Chase managed to convince me that Vincent should live. And I think you brought it up only because Vincent was the only one who was like truly innocent in a lot of ways. I mean, yeah, he's still betrayed Leo in a matter of speaking. So I had Leo's interest in that, but
Either way, one of us was going to have a kid growing up without a dad.
and that's fucking tragic, honestly.
For the record, Leo's kid was already expecting to grow up without a dad.
You don't know that.
Actually, yeah, wasn't he supposed to be on a...
Leo was, the cover story was Leo was in a doing some helping a friend in Italy for
He was in prison. His sentence was like 7.5 years or some shit.
Yeah.
I was always actually kind of surprised by how short the sentences seemed to be, but although
60s.
I guess Vincent's was made up anyway, but
well, yeah, so that doesn't count for anything. But and they only had Leo for like armed robbery or
something like that. It was mostly kind of thuggery,
basically
acts.
Long
enough that he'd want to break out.
It's kind of unfortunate we never got anything against the warden, though.
Yeah, he seemed like a dick. That seemed like a complete... That guy was ripped straight from the Shawshank Redemption, right down to the whole... Okay, I'm going to ask if any of the new prisoners have a question, and if anyone actually does have a question, they're going to get slugged in the stomach.
I'm kind of hoping, since Vincent is a Fed, that he, like, reports the obvious abuse to the Department of Corrections or something, and the warden loses his job.
I'm still disappointed I couldn't steal that record player.
That is my headcanon right now. The warden got reported, he lost his job, and Vincent stole the record player.
I like it.
Because, fuck it, why not?
And then, in
part of a raid in his office.
Then the warden robbed a gas station while completely wasted. And he gets sent to his own prison.
And he was drinking a beer in the middle of the store. I can't believe
oh my god,
that.
I can't believe that was pretty
that
goddamn
scene was hilarious.
All in all, though, I'm really satisfied with how the narrative of the game went. For a game that relied on its narrative to be the central point, I haven't seen a game that has been able to do that well since Heavy Rain.
The characters carried the story, and the story was fresh enough and interesting enough that you just wanted to keep going. And the gameplay was so unique that, frankly, there are not many games like this. Heavy Rain is one of the few I would actually compare it to.
That's one of those things I think that's something that this game does to set itself apart from that too. Because one of the criticisms a game like Heavy Rain had, or other games like Until Dawn, that they aren't so much video games as they are interactive movies, because they really do come down to just general decision making and quick time events. And I feel like this game did enough to, there were a couple of areas where it was, it wasn't seriously difficult, But there were a couple of puzzles here or there. There were just some general challenges. The ending, absolutely, an ending with a shootout.
The ending was art.
But I think that's where it set itself apart. Because it wasn't just quick time events and a couple decisions. It's something that you actually got to have good action to it.
There was enough variety and enough things to do. Like when we got to the farmhouse. The first thing we did, it wasn't story.
The fucking duet.
We had a goddamn musical duet. We
will
screwed
admit,
around.
that was kind of dumb.
It was dumb, but it was fun.
That was fun. It was fun, especially considering how, I don't know, we weren't great at it.
We were okay.
We were okay.
Made it work. I would absolutely recommend this game to everyone.
I think if you have just somebody that you can play this game with, it's just fun as hell.
Absolutely worth it.
And again, we don't have the other ending, so I don't know. Fucking.
Well, I do want to see what it's like just to see Leo's perspective.
It would be interesting.
If only for the sake of variety, but I would give this game a solid. I'm thinking 9 out of 10. Honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, great character, great gameplay, great story, great universe. This is a very unique experience.
All in all, though, I had an extremely fun time playing this game with Kyle, and I do genuinely hope there are more games like this in the future.
I think it was Hazelight Studios that came up with this.
Yes.
Yeah, they are. I'm going to be paying attention to these guys. Hazelight and Remedy Studios are now my top game studios to watch. We're definitely going to have to try those again.
Hell yeah.